Moving in to the Cincinnati Bengals, our narrative is, can Burrow stay healthy to make a deep run? Unfortunately, Joe Burrow has not been able to stay healthy throughout his NFL career. You know, he's played 16 games twice, and then the other years he's played 10. Obviously, we saw what they did with Jake Browning last year, which was pretty impressive, and I think that goes out to Zach Taylor, who has been a pretty good coach for what he's had. And I know, people were kind of on him before he got Burrow, but at the end of the day, what they did was Jake Browning was impressive. Now they go out, they go get Amarius Mims in the draft, who is one of the most athletic freaks at tackle you'll see. One of the biggest athletic freaks at tackle you'll see. You have Trent Brown at one tackle and Orlando Brown at the other tackle, so just massive guys to protect Joe Burrow. Obviously, the T. Higgins situation is overshadowing this team, but they did go out and get Jermaine Burton, I believe, in the third round, and Jermaine Burton fell because of character issues. He did not fall because of talent issues. I really think the Bengals got a steal here because of what Jermaine Burton can be if they let T. Higgins walk. I also think Eric All, the tight end they drafted from Iowa, I know he was a transfer to Iowa and he wasn't, this full-time guy there, but we know what Iowa has done with their tight ends. I really like the idea of bringing in Zach Moss. I don't know if he's going to one-for-one replace Joe Mixon, but overall, I think the Bengals are in a good spot. They also lost DJ Reader, so that is a little bit tough to replace, but I think the thing with the Bengals has been their slow starts. Like, I really do think their slow starts are what hinder them a lot, and obviously the injuries to Joe Burrow. I mean, personally, I think any year that Burrow is healthy, they have a chance because they're just a team that finds a way to get hot at the end of the year and fights. So I think if Joe Burrow can stay healthy, I don't know how I feel about the new hair, but did you see the new hair?
Yeah,
Looks
confused.
Yeah, a little interesting, but I mean, I don't hate it, but
No, I definitely don't hate it. Just confused a little bit, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Daz? Like, I think they're as good as anybody in the AFC outside of the Chiefs to go ahead and try to win the Super Bowl.
No, absolutely. And that's actually what makes the Bengals so polarizing right now. Is they're kind of in this weird limbo state of, like, that's not the right word, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like what are those things they call it? Like with the weights where they balance on one. Like on one side of it, it's like if things go perfectly, this team for sure, if all the problems get erased and taken off the right this side, we can go all the way. The Super Bowl is for sure peak possible for this team. It's definitely a roster still built that they can win the Super Bowl. But on the bottom side of things, if we pile on a Joe Burrow injury over here and another season, and that's the biggest thing. It really comes down to, like, if Joe Burrow has another season-ending injury or even just a lingering injury, we are quickly approaching, like, very troubling territory, and
especially after the extension. Yeah,
like, right. Like, let me be clear. This is I'm a Joe Burrow fan, man. I'm an LSU fan. Like, that was my absolute fucking boy for a whole season, like 2 seasons. It's my fucking boy. But the thing is this. The reality is we're hitting is if you get again, I don't want to make the comparison because it's getting too easy, it's getting too generic. But we saw with Andrew Luck how quickly you can go from being on top of the league to, like, especially when you really care about the future of what you have going on. As someone like Joe Burrow, definitely I don't think is just linear, like only on the next 10, 15 years of his life. You think about it long term and you start to say to yourself, okay, there's a lot of things I want to do in my life besides just play football until I'm 35 or 40 and then just live out the rest of my days, in pain. If that was, and I'm not saying everyone's going to, but I'm saying if you're Joe Burrow and you keep piling up injuries, there's going to hit a point mentally, as he's already talked about, where you can only do it for so long when you're just getting crushed. So to bring it all together, there is so much pressure on this O-line this year to get it right because they haven't gotten it right. And it's been affecting the team from a standpoint of, they would have been able to compete for the Lombardi every single year if Joe Burrow was just healthy. We've already seen that firsthand. Now it's just a matter of, like, can you guys actually keep him upright for more than a whole season? And that truly is just the narrative at this point. Everything else we've already said is true. Yes, the defense has holes. It's far from perfect. But I'd even kind of compare the Burrow. When Burrow's out there, it's not the same level. But I'd say it's very similar to Mahomes to that extent of, like, look, we always got a shot if Joey B's out there, you know? Like, it doesn't really matter what the defense is doing. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It's like Joe Burrow's going to find that open man and make that play. Right. It doesn't really matter. So if we can just keep him out there, that's the story of the season. Holes on defense, holes on offense. It's not the end of the world because you have Joe Burrow. Can you finally just keep him healthy? And you know what? To the point you made, they certainly tried as far as free agency goes, as far as the draft goes. It was definitely the focus of the offseason, which you have to appreciate if you're a Bengals fan, but it doesn't always translate to immediate results. So really, if you're a Bengals fan, you just really got to hope Trent Brown and Amarius Mims are the guys that are going to be able to hold it down at this point going forward. And again, Trent Brown might just be this year, but you better at least be able to hope to hold, Trent can hold it down this year till Amarius comes in.
Well, I'm also interested to see what goes on with the Trey Hendrickson situation because I believe he's asking for a trade or for his contract to be adjusted. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't he get a contract extension like very recently?
No, yeah, I believe, and I think it's just because the market, how these guys get when they sit down with their agents. The agent says, "Hold on a minute, we can make some more money." That's the only option. We're not making more money. We're going to sit down and we're going to make more money. So like, I think that's exactly what happened. And, I'm looking for a little update here to see if I can find like an update for us, but unfortunately it really doesn't look.
I haven't heard
like
anything on the Trey
too much
of
an update other than the fact that at least at this point, we're leaning towards that Trey will probably end up being a Bengal this year.
Oh, I think so too. If anything, it's the trade deadline. I don't think we see anything before that.
Yeah, definitely not.